So speaking of the chaotic drone story that nobody has any ideas about, well, this came to attention that I think we should maybe pay attention to because maybe this could shed a light and possibly why exactly these drones are specifically in certain areas in New Jersey, why they're only flying at night, and you'll see why in a second. So, someone linked this to a Twitter account that I got the video from, and this is the Emergency Unmanned Airborne Spectrometric Monitoring System. And they said after a nuclear or radiation event, emergency responders and radiation protection authorities need quick and credible information based on reliable accident and post accident radiological data. However, risk to the people in the vicinity of the source pose serious measurement challenges. Many problems could be solved by unmanned airborne monitoring systems, but the current ones are mostly based on non spectrometric detectors carried by drones with low bearing, short flying range, and flight time. Therefore, spectrometric monitoring systems based on high purity germanium detector carried by powerful unmanned helicopter has been developed. So there's a possibility that maybe the reason why nobody knows about this, not even government agencies, because as I speculated, if it was a foreign actor, if there were foreign spy drones, or if it came for Iranian mothership, as Jeff Van Drew pointed out, if that was even the case, or even if it was aliens, you would think that the United States would be able to spot this directly, know exactly that this is not one of our drones, and be able to take it down. You would think that'd be the case. But considering the fact that this has been going on for a month, they're trying to calm down the public rather than looking at this dead on, makes me suspicious on the kind of material that the government is involved in these drone sightings. So this guy, Colin Rugg, points out drone manufacturer says the only reason to fly drones at night is to look for something. Suggested New Jersey drones could be looking for a nuclear bomb from Ukraine. Back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program. I believe there were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched his warhead that was left from Ukraine, and we knew that was the thing was heading towards the United States. So he's quoting this guy who owns an actual drone business, who actually knows how to operate. He runs a drone facility business out in Kansas, I do believe, Wichita, Kansas. And he's going to explain in detail that these drones, the reason why they're coming out at night and perceived so low is because they're out for looking for something. And they're suggesting that could be radiation. It could be nuclear arsenal, that they're looking for warheads. So listen to this.
Hey everyone, my name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody. So, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway, back in the 1980s,
I just want to say clearly he's not a TikToker. The fact that he's dancing around this misinformation dance constantly for the last few seconds. I mean, this is TikTok, man. You gotta go fast. You gotta get your point across fast. The people that watch TikTok, they have a short attention span. That's why the average video is like a minute, maybe minute 30. Not a 9-minute dilemma here. And I don't even know if we're gonna play this in full, but we'll take a look.
Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay. We don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high-level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case. So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay? That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. Okay? Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas, and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that came up missing here in the United States, and they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay? Because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an aircraft, an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature. Because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe. Now it's gone. So my guess, my own guess, is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying and flying that low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. That's it. There's no other reason for a drone to be flying in the air other than to piss a bunch of people off at night. That's it.
So I'm not going to play this entirely because it's a fairly lengthy video, even for TikTok. But that is an interesting take of it because, again, I can't. This is just one guy's suspicion of this. This is just one guy's opinion. I can't say doubtably that this is exactly why the drones are there. But it could be possible. It's definitely more possible that these drones, especially going around like military bases, going around like public golf courses, like big institutional areas, Bedminster, Trump's golf course being the president. It could be potential that these drones and coming out at night, like it does make sense that these drones are coming out at night. They don't perceive thermal radiation, the drones themselves, and that's why the other drones couldn't pick it up, because these drones are looking for thermal radiation and warheads within these selected areas. So it could be possible. It could be very well possible. And maybe that's why these government agencies, and why across the board, from the Coast Guard to the Department of Homeland Security to the FAA to the FBI to the CIA to politicians themselves, don't want to muddy the waters or bring this to attention to people, because it would reveal that warheads back from the 1980s of the Cold War are still missing. And we don't know exactly where they are. And that is going to be troublesome. That's going to be a bit troublesome, especially the fact that the United States is so desperate to go to war with Russia. So there could be this possibility that these drones are coming around parts of New Jersey and elsewhere in specific areas to do that. Now, I'm not saying that's for certain. I'm not saying that's exactly correct. I'm just going off of what this man seems to be talking about, and I kind of trust him in the fact that he runs a special business in drones. So I give him credit on that. And it seems more plausible than a UFO or Iranian mothership story that politicians spew out. But we honestly don't know. We honestly don't know. And we probably won't ever know. They'll probably keep this under wraps. They'll come up with some ridiculous harebrained story to cover this up, and you won't hear about it. And it just makes it more chaotic. It makes it more chaotic, and more people are getting paranoid the more you leave this off. So I think at this point, being a month in to these sudden drone sightings that have now become so occasional at this point that people are almost expecting it, I think now would be the time to actually investigate, find out what these drones are here for, and inform the public before all hell breaks loose. Because right now they're trying to say, oh, we got to shoot it down. We got to just, shut down all the airfields, shut down the airspace, get the military involved, get the, Navy SEALs involved, try to figure out some way to bring down these drones. And yet we don't know anything about these drones. We don't know how they're powered. We don't know how they're operating. We don't know why they're specifically targeting these specific areas. We don't know any of this. But this seems more feasible. This seems more understanding than Iranian mothership or the other crazy theories you might be hearing about this. But we won't know for sure. We won't know for sure until we actually have a formal investigation on these drones, their whereabouts, and what they're exactly doing in military bases and operations within New Jersey and across other states. Like, why specifically those areas? Could be that exact reason they're looking for warheads, which you don't hear a lot of. You know, there was stories. I'm something about hearing stories about in the 80s during the Cold War that they were missing a bunch of weaponry, they were missing a bunch of warheads, and you don't hear anything about it. So, could be the case, could not be. We don't know for sure.